Inside Carolina postgame live, 3 takeaways. First one is that second half comeback, Mike. The defensive adjustments, offense was clicking. The main thing I thought was how Jay Bateman's defense did something to inhibit Pitt's ability to move the ball and to score. Your thoughts on that second half comeback?
Penalties. Defense minimized penalties and essentially altogether eliminated them. The penalties in the second half were primarily on the offensive side of the ball. And if you look in the first half, we were giving up first downs due to stupid penalties. Defensive holding calls, pass interference calls, just boneheaded, unnecessary, and very untimely penalties on defense. We cut that out in the second half, and we were able to see what our defense was able to do.
I thought there was some timely, just big plays. You had a sack here by Tamon Fox, a sack there by Jeremiah Gemmel. You had the interception by Jeremiah Gemmel. There was more plays. I thought the defensive line also contained the pocket a little better and were able to make plays on Kenny Pickett. I mean, he was 2 different quarterbacks.
He really was.
He was slicing, dicing UNC in the first half. He was really contained in the second half. We have a Pat stat during the takeaways. Go ahead.
Yeah, also, I mean, a major difference in the ground game between the two teams, between the two halves. First half, Pittsburgh averages 4.4 yards per carry on 21 attempts, while UNC averaged 0.4 yards per carry on 15 attempts. In the second half, UNC improved to 3.6 yards per carry on 22 attempts, while Pitt only averaged 0.2 yards on 10 attempts.
So really reducing Pitt's ability to run the ball was huge. It's not like UNC did anything too special on offense. They scored more with the big plays from Josh Downs and from Antoine Green, but limiting Pitt's ability to run the ball, taking away that run game, making them one-dimensional, really helped UNC get back in the game. I thought that, like I said, I thought this game was over in the first half. So kudos to UNC for fighting. Offensive line, we got to talk about offensive line. We have Mike Ingersoll here, letterman at UNC. Your breakdown of offensive line from the first half to the second half. What do you think they did bad in the first half that kind of led to some of the issues, and maybe what do you see they fixed in the second half?
So in the first half, it was our one-on-one matchups. We weren't winning them at the tackle spot. With the interior guys, we were just not winning our one-on-one matchups at all. We were giving up too many sacks, and they were in bad situations. They were in situations where the defense had their ears pinned back. They knew we were throwing the ball. We knew we were throwing the ball, and we still couldn't manage to do what we needed to do to win our one-on-one matchups. In the second half, we cleaned a lot of that up. Again, I've complained and I've banged on this team and this offensive line for weeks and weeks and weeks over twist games. We had some issues with that in the first half. Second half, we cleaned it up. Second half, we also cleaned up our one-on-one matchups. I think that was ultimately the deciding factor in our ability to mount a comeback on offense. That plus, as you just heard, the running stats, 3.6 yards per carry versus 0.4 in the first half. While 3.6 is not efficient runs on average, that is enough of a threat for that Pitt defense to where they have to honor it, and it opened up things in the passing game.
And I thought they kept Sam much cleaner in the second half, and when he's given time, you saw it happen. The bomb to Antoine Green, the touchdown to Antoine Green, the bomb to Josh Downs. When Sam is given time, he's able to make those throws, step into, he's not rushed, and they kept him clean a little bit better. For the game, though, 11 tackles for a loss by Pitt on UNC. And 5 sacks of Sam Howell. Felt like even more than that after watching the first half.
Can't win the game if you're going backwards.
Great point. All right, and the third takeaway, I think, is just UNC's resilience, their fight. This does relate to kind of second half comeback. But kudos to this team. I mean, it hasn't been the best season. They haven't lived up to expectations. But it was 17-0 at one point in this game. Everything was going Pitt's direction. I thought the fact they made some adjustments and their fight and their inability to give up was huge. From a player perspective, what do you think about that?
Well, what the real benefit that you're going to see from this is in the future. And I don't like talking about what we have coming down the pike and down the road. But what you have here on this team is you have a ton of veteran leadership and also a ton of young guys. There's a major gap in between. You got really young guys and really old guys on this team, and no one in between. Well, those really young guys, they've got a great example in those older guys like Jeremiah Gemmel, Sam Howell. The Fox brothers. Okay, they have examples of guys that have been through some stuff. They've seen losses. They've seen bad seasons. They've seen Orange Bowls. They've seen everything here. They've seen major preseason expectations and now a letdown in this season. And the one thing that has stayed constant is they've always stayed, all those older players have stayed even keel. They've done what they need to do to win. They're clearly preparing, whether that's translating onto the field on Thursdays and Saturdays. That's a week-to-week thing for us right now. But the one thing that isn't lacking is effort, determination, and a hard-nosedness is the verb I'll use. A hard-nosedness by guys, like Jeremiah Gemmel, perfect example. You got young guys coming up behind him that are super talented. And young guys coming up behind a lot of these older players at key positions that are super talented, that have great examples to model themselves after.